Oh, Budaraji, Dhanyavad, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
That's Maharaj.
Haribol. Haribol.
How are you?
Okay. Okay. Carrying on. Soldiering on. Somehow or other we soldier on, huh?
Yeah. Well, we soldier on because you inspire us with your Hari Kathas. So that's how we do it. So thank you for that.
We try. But my Hari Katha is only influenced by the inspiration from all of you. So it's all reciprocal.
Maharaj, I think we are ready to start.
Okay.
And Srimati Mamata Didi is going to sing Kirtan to start off with.
Great. Nice.
Nice.
And who is doing Jaidvani?
Maharaj,
Jai. Okay. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganhavika Giridhari Radha Vinod Hari Ju Ki Jai. Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Asto Tarastara Shishi Mahat Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Asto Tarastara Shishi Mahat Shila Bhakti Vedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Asto Tarastara Shishi Mahat Shila Bhaktivedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Asto Tarasara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Rakshak Shrila Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Asto Tarasara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Asto Tarasara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Asto Tarasara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Mahabhagavat Shila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Shila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Shila Baladev Vidyabhushan Gaudiya Vedantacharya Ki Jai. Jai Rasik Siramani Shila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai. Jai Shila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan, Shri Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal, Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gaura Parsada Ki Jai. Namacharya Shila Hardas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikha Holsi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shishi Radha Krishna Ka Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Gangaji Muni Ki Jai, Brihat Mridanga Ki Jai, Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Nam Bhajan Ki Jai, Grantaraj Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gotadvip Madhudvip Koladvip Richadvip Janadvip Modandvip Rudadvip Atmaka Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Bhadravan, Bandiravan, Bailvan, Lohavan, Mahavan, Madhavan, Talvan, Kamudvan, Bahulivan, Vrindavan, Kadyavan, Kamyavan, Vraja-mandala Ki Jai. Srila Gurudev's 2021 Parikrama Ki Jai. Vaishnavas Ki Jai. Anantapota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Okay.
Okay, I can begin the Kirtan, Maharaji.
Yes.
Please, yes.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasani Gaura Bhakta Linda Jaya Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha Gauranga bolite habe ulaka sharira Hari Hari bolite nam Yaneva binira Araka venita chande Karuna haibe Samsara vasana mora kabe tu chahabe Visaya chadiya kabe sudaha bimana kabe hamahirava Shri Vrindavana Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Akuti Kabe Hama Buja Bose Yugala Piriti Rupa Raghunatha Pade Rahu Morayasha Pratna Karo Ye Sada Narottamdasa Gauranga bolite habe Ulaka sharira Hari Hari bolite na Yaneva binira Gaura he Gaura he Gaura he Gaura he Jayo Narottamdas Thakur Narottamdas Narottamdas Thakur Narottamdas Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Kripa karo more daya karo Kripa karo more daya karo Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev ki jai
Jai, thank you for beautiful kirtan. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama 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 Hari Hari. So before we begin our 12th day of these beautiful, wonderful Zoom programs, I'd like to offer my obeisances millions of times to the lotus feet of my dear most Gurudev, Sri Srila Bhaktivedanta Van Goswami Maharaj, to the lotus feet of my Param Guru Devs, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, and Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Maharaj, to the lotus feet of Srila Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada, to all our Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Varg, all Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, and all assembled here today. So today is the 12th day of these programs. It's the 11th day of us doing Parikrama, and today is a special day because we are traveling from Vrindavana to Govardhana. So Pujapad Nemi Maharaj will cover that journey. So he will mention Santanu Kund, Paitha-grahma, and Chandra Sarovara. And maybe Shamasundara Shikanda Shekhar. I'm not sure. He will clarify. Then we'll hear from Pujapad Tridandi Maharaj, who will give us a beautiful overview and go into some detail about Sri Damodarastakam. That will also be around half an hour. But before we do any of that, we're going to get the map up, and Maharaj is going to show us the route that we take from Vrindavan to Govardhana, I believe. Is that correct, Maharaj? Yes.
Yes, yes. Hare Krishna, everybody. My Dandavat pranams to you all. All glories to Srila Gurudev, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varga. So today is an exceptional day. It's a transitional day. We're leaving the banks of the Jamuna, and we're leaving the hustle and bustle of Vrindavan Township, where at this time, because it's Kartik, it's packed. Practically all the streets are very congested. And everywhere we go, there's kirtan parties, there's groups of devotees, there's the village ladies singing beautifully in their beautiful rag melodies, wandering around together. So we're going to leave this very potent place, and we're going to travel in our buses with all our luggage on the roof. We've all packed the luggage early in the morning. It's been, I know, an energetic morning, everyone running around with their bags and packages, looking for their buses and trying to haul them up onto the roof of the buses. And somehow or other, we manage it. We manage with all our loaded up buses, and we drive through the early morning back streets of Vrindavan. And we drive, first of all, to Chatikara, which I described the other day, which is on the junction of that main road. Yes, Tarunji, you can see. That main road, as we described previously, is the Delhi-Agra road. If you go up to the left, that's towards Delhi. And down to the south, that's towards Agra. So on this junction, this is where actually Nanda Baba and all the Brijbasis, they camped there for about 6 months on their journey from Gokul out to Govardhana. This is the exact same route that they took 5,000 years ago. So then we're going to cross straight across that busy highway, and we're going to drive to Ral. Yes, you've got your cursor on Ral. This is just a village, and we're going to go through Ral. And then this is now in Bahulivan. And at this point, we will stop at some point, because Bahulivan is quite an extensive forest. So I'm not sure exactly where we're going to stop, but you can see Bahulivan is just to the right of your cursor there. Yes, yes. So this is the forest of Bahulivan. So we'll hear some pastimes about Bahulivan again, because we've already actually touched on it when we went to Madhuvan, Talvan, Kamudvan, and Bahulivan. We did a loop around from the south where the map is. And we'll also discuss Shantanu Kund, which is very close to that location where it's saying Bahulivan. So Shantanu Kund is there. And then we're going to come a little further along this road. Then there's Paitha-grahma, which is just as we're driving towards Govardhana, it'll be off to our left. That'll mean the south. This will be Paitha-grahma. And then we'll have some beautiful Harikatha there. And then we'll get back on the buses, and then we'll touch on Chandra Sarovara, which is just a little bit along that road also. But this is the main bus route where that red line is going. And then we should arrive in Govardhana for midday lunch prasadam. So that whole journey will take us about 3 or 4 hours, something like that. And then we'll arrive at Giriraj Govardhana at our Gaudiya Mat and rest, etc. And then in the evening, we'll hear Harikatha. So we're going to do the whole thing in like 2.5, 3 hours. We'll do that whole journey in the comfort of our own homes. But remembering in our consciousnesses where we're going, the purpose of what we're doing is to connect consciously with this holiest of dhams, this Vraja-mandala, at this time during Kartik. If we can be focused on this through the whole month for 31 days and be remembering all these pastimes, even just hearing the names of these pastimes is very, very powerful, very potent. And so much kripa and mercy will come to us. And of course, we're remembering our great saints, the acharyas who have led us here. This was a particularly appropriate kirtan that our Mamata sang just now, remembering Sachinandan Gaurahari and the most beautiful Narottam Das, who we've also been discussing. So all of this package of nectar is just there for us to pick up, capture, and hold in our hearts. So now, Pujapad Nemi Maharaj is going to lead us to Govardhana's lap himself. Jai, Giriraj Govardhana ki Jai, Gaur Premanande.
Ajnana Timirandhasya, Jnananjana Shlakaya, Chakshurun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namam Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namane. Namam Vishnu Padaya, Radhikaya Priyatmane, Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Narayaniti Namane. Namam Vishnu Padaya, Gaura Prasthaya Bhutale, Shishimad Bhaktividyam Bharati Iti Namane. Vancha Kalpatarubhyas Chakribasan Drubhyevacha, Putitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Monaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadichiko Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Pujapad Chaitanya Maharaj has already described the journey. So on the way, just coming out of Mathura, there's Santanu Kunda. This is connected with Shantanu Maharaj, great personality in the Mahabharata. So he performed austerities here. He wanted to have a son. Subsequently, he met with Ganga Devi, and they had an amazing son, Bhishma. So there's a long story there, but we don't have time to go into that. It's all part of the Mahabharata. And Bhishma, of course, he is also one of the very great personalities in Mahabharata, protector and grandfather of the Pandavas, and one of the 12 Mahajans. And there's a large, Yudhishthira Maharaj came to Bhishma Dev after the Battle of Kurukshetra at the behest of Krishna, and he received extensive instructions from Bhishma Dev. There's a whole big part of Mahabharata is Shri Bhishma Dev's instructions to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So going on, Paitha-grahma. Paitha-grahma is, it's a place where Krishna had hidden from the gopis, for one reason or another, during the rasa dance. So this is all the area, you can see the picture here. This whole area is the area of the spring Rasa Leela, not the autumn Rasa Leela. There's two Rasa Leelas. There's millions, myriad, but two specific, particular. There's the autumn Sharad Purnima, which takes place Sharad Purnima, full moon of Sharad season, and that's the one that's described in so much detail in Srimad Bhagavatam, and we've described that to some extent. And that's all described in the Rasa Panchadhyayi, which is the 5 chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam, which describe the autumn Rasa Leela. The specific characteristic of the autumn Rasa Leela is that all types of gopis are there. There are eternal gopis, Nitya Parika, eternal associates of Radha and Krishna, and also sadhana siddha gopis. So ultimately, when our sadhana bhajan matures and matures and matures, we'll also enter into, we can say we'll enter into the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam as sadhana siddha gopis. The spring Rasa Leela is different. It's only Nitya siddha gopis there. And we don't have so much information about that spring Rasa Leela. So during the course of this Rasa Leela, Krishna hid in the bushes from the gopis. He'd hidden, and then he heard the gopis coming. So tricky as he is, he thought, I will show myself as Narayan, and let's see what they do. So the point about, so he's sitting in the bushes, effulgent in his Narayan form, 4 arms. And the special characteristic of Narayan is, Shri Narayan, is that if somebody gets darshan of Narayan, then certainly he will fulfill their desires. So whatever they ask for, oh Narayan, whatever it is that they ask for, he will fulfill that. He'll give them that boon. So Krishna's sitting there and waiting, and then the gopis come. Not all the gopis. Gopis come and they say, oh, Narayan. So what is the boon? They're offering obeisances. Narayan, Namo, Namaste. Do you know where Krishna is? That's the only interest. It's the only interest. So, Vishnu is one name for, actually the names of Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha, they're all names of Krishna as well. Vishnu means all pervading, but Vishnu is not all pervading in the hearts of the gopis. Krishna is present there in the hearts of the gopis. But there's another reservation there as well. So those gopis, I don't know, it's not said. I haven't heard, but Krishna must have said, well, he went that away. I don't know. But then Srimati Radhika's group came. And even as the aroma, perfume of her transcendental form entered the nostrils of Krishna, he couldn't maintain his 4 arms. That opulence, the form of opulence, could not sustain itself. He couldn't sustain that mood of opulence at all, even a pretense of opulence in front of Srimati Radhika. And the 2 arms entered into his body. So Paitha-grahma, Paitha-gai. 2 arms entered into his body. So that's why this place is called Paitha-grahma. Srila Bhakti Vigyam Bharati Maharaj has pointed out the special significance of this. That the gopis in general, they saw Krishna in his transcendental 4-armed form, a very special manifestation of Vishnu, very special manifestation. The encyclopedia says that Krishna is the 8th incarnation of Vishnu, because more is better. So Lord Vishnu's got 4 arms, so he's obviously better than Krishna from the point of view of those who are not familiar with our Vaishnava culture. But actually, Vishnu is within Krishna. So the gopis in general, they had darshan of this beautiful manifestation of Krishna. Krishna's mood, tricky, mood. But when Srimati Radhika came, that form dissolved. And only the gopis who are following Srimati Radhika could actually have darshan of that amazing, amazing occurrence when Krishna is defeated. Krishna's opulence, Krishna's even pretense of opulence is totally dissolved by the love of Srimati Radhika. So that's one special significance of this place. So therefore, Srila Bharati Maharaj, this Anukulyena Krishna Anusilanam, Anyabilashta Shunyam Jnana Karmadya Navatam, Anukulyena Krishna Anusilanam. It's description of pure devotional service. And the marginal characteristics of pure devotional service is that it's not covered by the tendency to have other desires, or it's not covered by gyan and impersonal knowledge and so on. Those are marginal characteristics. But the Sarup Lakshan, the actual form, the very form of bhakti, Anukulyena Krishna Anusilanam, that it's pleasing Krishna, Anukulyena, in a favorable mood. So Anu means following. So he said, actually, Srimati Radhika is Anukul. She's the ultimate favorable. And Anu, following. So if we're following Srimati Radhika, then we can perform Uttam Bhakti, the best and the best and the best of all best bhakti. Otherwise not. That was one of his contributions. So Paitha-grahma, if we pray here that our tendency to opulence, this mood of opulence, our tendency to fear God instead of loving God, our tendency to be stuck in this conception that God's like my dysfunctional father, and he loves me if I'm good, and he doesn't love me if I'm bad, and God bless my father and all parents and all my ancestors and all my descendants. I don't think I'm going to get any descendants. So getting rid of these moods, which are keeping us stuck from the Braj mood is so delightful, so light, so loving, and so intense at the same time. It's a boundary to cross over, just like the boundary between Vrindavana and Mathura. There's a clear boundary there. So Paitha-grahma. And then moving on from Paitha-grahma also, there is Chandra Sarovara. So Chandra Sarovara, Chandra means moon. Sarovara means lake. It's a very beautiful lake. I don't know how many sides. Octagonal. This is Paitha-grahma. Yeah, this is Chandra Sarovara. So it's huge, very expansive lake. And the spring Ras Leela took place in this area. And at that time, Chandra, the moon, like Jagannath is looking, Jagannath's eyes don't blink. Demigod's eyes also don't blink. If you want to know whether somebody's a demigod or not, check whether their feet are touching the floor, and then check whether they're blinking. If they're not blinking, and if the feet don't touch the floor, then they're demigods. So Jagannath's eyes, have you ever seen Jagannath blinking? No. And then Chandraji, he's like staring at this rasa dance for the whole, he should have moved on, but he didn't. He was staring at this fascinating, intoxicating spectacle for the whole night of Brahma. So therefore Chandra Sarovara. I say this is a springtime ras. One speciality of the springtime ras is like this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is discussing with Ramananda Roy. In the Sharad ras, means the autumn ras, Krishna had to make very tricky arrangements so that all the gopis in the end, would come on board with the fact that the whole Ras revolves around Radha and Krishna. It was very difficult because there's transcendental envy. As long as Krishna is present, then there's transcendental envy between the groups. It's not that they're actually envious of each other, but there's transcendental mood there. When Krishna is not present, they're so sympathetic with each other. Just like when, after Srimati Radhika had been left aside by Krishna before the actual main rasa dance, and the other gopis came and found her rolling on the ground and crying in deep separation, deeper separation than they could imagine for themselves. So they became very sympathetic. And her mood actually permeated the whole group of devotees. And in that way, they all got a taste of her mood. And then they all sang Gopi Geet together with their various moods, same verses, but different moods. And then Krishna came back with his pitamba between his hands, and he's bashfully holding his head because he knows he's an offender. But the whole thing was a dramatic arrangement by Krishna so that the whole group of gopis would be imbued with Srimati Radhika's mood, and he could ultimately, he could show her eminence like that. One of the points was that when the other gopis could see her separation from Krishna, they did not have that separation. So not only they could see that she was in so much deep separation and humility with that, they could see that on the one hand, and on the other hand, they also became imbued with her mood. That's the autumn ras. And the spring ras, Radha and Krishna, they left the rasa dance together at one point. Spring ras is described in Jayadev Goswami's Did Govinda, and which is a very intimate book. Srila Gurudev said something like, I think there may be 5 or 10 people who can read the Hindi translation, and there isn't anyone who can read the English translation. Anyway, he translated it because there's so many other translations of Did Govinda. So he's supplying an authentic. Just like my Guru Maharaj said, my book, he said, not my books, his books. He said that his books will be the law books for 10,000 years. So Gurudev said, you won't appreciate what I'm giving you until after I've left. So this Did Govinda is one of these after he's left. Chandra Sarovara, here, there's also the bhajan kutirs and samadhis also of Ballabhacharya and his son Vittalacharya. So Ballabhacharya, he's a very great personality. He's referred to by his followers, refer to him as Mahaprabhu. So in various places in Braj, for example, Kokilvan, Mahaprabhu Baitak, where Mahaprabhu sat, but that's not our Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's Sri Vallabhacharya Mahaprabhu. So he's very, very influential Vaishnava. He met with Lord Chaitanya at Prayag. At that time, Rupa Goswami, or Rup, and his brother Anupam, they just joined Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Ballabhacharya, he was, anyway, he has his own line, his own mood. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him that, oh, these two people, they're very, very low. They've been serving Muslims, don't touch them. But Vallabhacharya, he could see that they were constantly chanting the holy name, constantly. So he could understand, actually, they're very elevated Vaishnavas. And he very, very deeply appreciated Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotion. Then later on, he appears in the pastimes in Puri, in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes in Puri. So Vallabhacharya, he's a great scholar, and he wanted to get some like validation from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but his mood, he didn't have the same simple, like Braj mood. He was a scholar, and he had the mood of a scholar. So he was constantly bringing up points to Lord Chaitanya. I'm telling this story now. One time I gave Harikatha at Chandra Sarovara, and afterwards Bham Maharaj said, "This is not a good idea, speaking like this in front of the devotees of Vallabhacharya." So on one occasion, he said to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, "I think it's not suitable that you're chanting the holy name, because we're all three. We're all the energy of the Supreme Lord. And just like the wife is the energy of the husband, and it's not suitable for the wife to say the husband's name." So in Vedic culture, the wife would not address the husband by name, his pati. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, yes, we're the energy of Krishna, and Krishna has given this instruction that we should chant the holy name. We should chant his holy name to become enlivened and purified. So that's why we're doing it. Harinam, Harinam, Harinam eva kevalam. Kalo nasteva, 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 gati ranyita. In 12th canto is stated, this is the only way. Yagyai sankirtana praya, yajantihi samedasaha. That those who are very intelligent, they'll worship this golden form of the Supreme Lord who appears in Kali Yuga in a hidden form. They'll worship him by Sankirtan Yagya. So this is actually the Dharma for this age. So Vallabhacharya became a little crestfallen. And then another time he came and he said, I have explained the meanings of Krishna's names. He has many names, and I've explained the meanings of Krishna's names. And I'd like you to hear my commentary. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I don't know any names of Krishna. I don't know any meanings of names of Krishna. I know he's called Shyamasundar. Krishna and Shyamasundar. That's enough for me. But again, he squashed Vallabhacharya. So then, another time, Sri Vallabhacharya, he came to Lord Chaitanya and he said, I have written a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. And I've shown that Sridhar Swami's commentary is actually not completely authentic. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very grave. Now, Swami means like sannyasi. So Sridhar Swami means that great sannyasi, Sridhar Maharaj. But Swami also means husband. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I think that anyone who doesn't follow the Swami is a prostitute. Means anyone who's not following the husband is a prostitute. Or implying that if you're not following the commentary of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, following in his footsteps, then like that. And then he didn't say anything else. So the devotees began to laugh, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu silenced them. So after that, Sri Vallabhacharya, he became despondent that he couldn't in any way get anybody to listen. So he went to Gadadhar Pandit, and he almost forced Gadadhar Pandit to listen to his commentaries. Gadadhar Pandit is very gentle, submissive personality. So he allowed Vallabhacharya to tell him. Some of the other devotees became a little, why you're listening to him when Lord Chaitanya wouldn't listen to him. Anyway, the whole thing was resolved. In the end, Vallabhacharya received Diksha from Sri Gadadhar Pandit. Vallabhacharya stayed at Chandra Sarovara, and his son Vittalacharya also stayed at Chandra Sarovara. So we know that at Govardhana, Sri Madhavendra Puripad discovered the Gopal deity. Actually, Gopal came to him. First of all, Krishna came to him as cowherd boy. And then in a dream, he came to him. And he said, I've been waiting for you. I've been hidden in the bushes. So then when Madhavendra Puripad woke up, he went with the villagers and he went to the place that he saw in the dream. And they unearthed Gopalji. So Gopalji was worshipped at Govardhana. Madhavendra Puripad went to Puri under the instruction of Gopal. Gopal told him, look, I'm hot. I was out in the open for so long. I'm still hot. You've given so much abhishek. I need sandalwood paste and camphor. You have to go to Puri to get it. Madhavendra Puri was physically, he was an old man at that time. And he was being asked to bring a really heavy load of sandalwood. And it's very difficult. He didn't have any money, but he had to get through all the toll gates. So he went to Puri. And on the way, we know the story that he stopped at Remuna, and there he saw the offering of sweet rice to Gopinath. And he thought, oh, if only I could find out how they make, I'd like to taste that sweet rice. Normally he didn't taste anything. He just drank milk if someone offered to him. Extreme austerity. He said, I would like to taste that rice, sweet rice, and then I would know how to offer to Gopal. And then he condemned himself. Oh, I'm thinking about tasting something before the deity tasted it. And he went into the marketplace. So late at night, Gopinath woke up the pujari. He told the pujari in a dream that I've hidden one of the pots. You didn't notice, but I've hidden one of the pots of sweet rice for my devotee, Madhavendra Puri. So you come to the altar room and you get that pot and give it to him. So pujari came, and then he's in the marketplace called Madhavendra Puripad, Madhavendra Puri. Oh, you're so fortunate. So Madhavendra Puri, he received the sweet rice and he ate it in extreme ecstasy. Oh. And then he went to Puri, collected the sandalwood and the camphor. And on the way back, he stopped in Remuna again. And in Remuna, Gopal again appeared to him in a dream and told him, you don't have to bring all that sandalwood. It's a big journey to come all the way to Vrindavan. You can apply that sandalwood and camphor to the body of Gopinath, who's now known as Kshir-chor Gopinath. He's the thief, sweet rice thief, Gopinath. Oh. So you can apply that to him. So it was taking a long time. I mean, he got, I forget how, it was many, many kilos of sandalwood paste. It takes a long time to grind down. So he stayed in Remuna, and it appears that he didn't go back to Vrindavan because his samadhi is actually at that temple. So one can conjecture, I haven't seen this data, but can conjecture that the worship of Gopalji became less in Govardhana. And then it was taken over by the followers of Ballabhacharya and Vittalacharya. So now Gopal is now Srinathji in Natadwar. Srinathji. So that's one connection there. Then, although Ballabhacharya, the followers of Ballabhacharya, basically they worship Gopal Krishna, Laddu Krishna. And the mood is, the sentiment is that really selfless love, real selfless love is actually parental love. Because amorous love, you know, between lover and beloved, we can't say that's selfless. There's always a desire to enjoy. Whereas the mother with the child, or the parents with the child, the young child, there's no desire to enjoy there. They're simply bringing up the child and nourishing the child with deep love. This reasoning is not very sound, actually. Because on the one hand, yes, there's in worldly amorous affairs, there's enjoyment. But in worldly parental affairs, there's also enjoyment. Parents also have their desires. And when the parents don't fulfill, when the children don't fulfill the expectations of the parents, like later on when they grow up, then the parents become extremely frustrated. So there are expectations there. One of the expectations is the children will grow up and produce their children so that their parents have grandchildren. This is a big one. Of course, that's like a shadow of the Vedic idea that one should have children, and particularly sons, who will be able to offer pinda, they'll offer shraddha, offerings to the ancestors, so to relieve them from if they've gotten themselves into difficult situations, or for example, if they've somehow or other become ghosts, or anyway, whatever. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went to Gaya to offer pinda for his father, Jagannath Mishra, after Jagannath Mishra passed away. So that's on the one hand, that yes, there's selfishness in amorous affairs, but there's also selfishness in parental affairs. And parents are enjoying like mad. I mean, you know, when they bring out the baby photos and the kids are so cute and so sweet and everyone's goo, 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 ga, ga, ga. The parents are enjoying like mad. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, the gopis specifically, their love towards Krishna is samartarati. The queens in Dwarka, samanjasa, that Krishna's giving them palaces, giving them children, and they have so many responsibilities. They're in Svakya relationship with Krishna, they're married, so they don't have great difficulty in meeting Krishna. So their love is samanjasa. It is not guaranteed to control Krishna. In fact, rarely can they control Krishna. And when Narada Muni came to glorify the queens in Dwarka, and said, oh, you're so glorious, you're the most glorious in the whole universe. No, because Krishna's all the time at night, he's all crying out, oh, Radhe, Lalite, Vishake. So we're not the most glorious and we don't understand. And that led to the second Jagannath pastime, when Rohini was giving Harikatha. That's another story. So the descendants of Ballabhacharya, mostly they're worshipping Gopal, but there's this deep, deep, deep madhuras there. And Vittalacharya, he's author of a very, very, very beautiful prayer to Srimati Radhika. On one occasion, our Uma Didi, the only lady who was allowed to live ongoing in Keshaji Gaudiya Mat in Mathura, she asked Srila Gurudev, what is the essence of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy? And Srila Gurudev answered, very, very, very deep mood. Sham Sundara Shikanda Shekara Smerahasa Murali Manohara Radhika Rasikamang Kripanidhe Sapriya Charana Kinkaninkuru. Oh, Sham Sundara. Sham Sundara is the favorite name the gopis have for Krishna. Beautiful and blackish beauty. Shama Sundara Shikanda Shekara. You have a beautiful peacock feather. Sham Sundara Shikanda Shekara. Smerahasa Murali Manohara. So you have this gorgeous, intoxicating, fascinating, enchanting smile. And you hold your flute to your lips and you play flute music, which bewitches everyone in the whole universe, anywhere. Manohara, you steal everybody's minds. And Krishna's going, yes, yes, okay, very good, yes, yes. Means there's something coming up. Okay, so you're flattering me, praising me, so I think you must want something from me. Yes, I do. Radhika Rasikama Kripanidhe. Oh, I know that you enjoy amorous pastimes with Srimati Radhika. Yes. Kripanidhe, and you're an ocean of mercy. Okay, I'm an ocean of mercy. Then what do you want? Sapriya charana kinkaring kuru. I just want to be the kinkari at the lotus feet of your beloved. That's all. Oh, you don't want to be with me? No, I don't. I want to be beloved maidservant and performing very, very menial services for Srimati Radhika, for your beloved. That way I can please you. Janma Janmani Madhishwari Priya. Birth after birth after birth. That's all I want. So this verse is from Vittalacharya, Sri Radha Prarthana. It's very, very, very deep mood. And that verse, when we were with Srila Gurudev at Radhakund Shamakund, between Radhakund and Shamakund. So first of all, he'd take us to Radhakund, we'd offer prayers. And then he'd take us to Shamkund, and he'd have us recite this prayer. And then in English, he'd say, oh, now you have to repeat, oh Krishna, we only want to be Radharani's maidservants. We only want to be Radharani's maidservants. No other desire, no other desire, no other desire. One time we were at Radhika and he was like reciting this. I was somehow that I happened to be quite close with him. And he was just looking at me and laughing and laughing and laughing, like eye to eye, direct. Later on, I realized that was actually my birthday. And the time when we were there was bang on 12 noon. So it was like fortunate, auspicious time. So this mood of Vittalacharya is very, very deep, very, very sweet, Madhuras. Also at Chandra Sarovara, there's the Bhajan Kutir and Samadhi of Surdas. So Surdas is a great Vaishnava and also a great poet. His collection of poems, Surasagara, Surkabadavali, and he was a very close associate of Vallabhacharya and Vittalacharya. So he was actually blind. But even so, he would compose poems. They would dress the deity, Srinathji. They would dress the deity, our Gopal as was. They dressed the deity and he would describe the different outfits and decorations. And the devotees, they couldn't understand how he's doing that. He's blind. How's doing that? So one day the priest didn't dress Srinathji. He didn't have anything on at all. And he opened the doors of the altar and then he said, Surdas, so can you describe Nathji's decorations? And so Surnath, Surdas, he didn't say anything for a while. And the priest insisted, go on, go on. So then Surdas began to laugh and he sang, Aj Bhai Hari Nangam Nanga. Oh, today Hari's undressed and he's naked. Everyone was really, really surprised. So Surdas, he spent his last days in this village, Parasardi. And Srila Gurudev describes that on one occasion, Vittalacharya, son of Vallabhacharya, asked him, Sura, what are you thinking about? And then Surdas said, Kanjanai Rup Rasmate, Atishai Charu Chapal Anyare, Pal Pinjarana Samate. Krishna's beautiful eyes are like Kanjan birds. Kanjan is like wagtail. They're always, wagtail's always wagging its tail. So Srimati Radhika is also described, her eyes are like Kanjan. So he's saying that Krishna's eyes also are like Kanjan, moving restlessly here and there, looking for the gopis, or amongst the gopis, looking for Srimati Radhika. They're full of ras, very restless, and slightly reddened due to intoxication. And then my life can no longer remain encaged in this body. And he just left his body. And Vittalacharya said, oh, the Bhota Pushti Marg means their line of spontaneous devotion has departed today. So these are some of the pastimes at Paitha-grahma and Chandra Sarovara. And our Pujyapat Tridani Maharaj has suddenly appeared again. I have a special incantation. It goes something like this. So these are, and then suddenly, poof, Tridani Maharaj appears like genie out of the bottle. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatrubhyascha krivasanandavivata Putitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you so much, Maharaj. I have one quick question of clarification. You said Vallabhacharya's Samadhi was where? In Chandra Sarovara as well?
Chandra Sarovara, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Or by the side of Chandra, very, very, very close.
Okay. Okay, put nearby. Hey, Yashoda, did you come on to ask a question? Is that why you unmuted yourself?
Yes, Tarunji. Haribol, Dandavats.
Haribol.
Haribol, Maharaj. Haribol, Maharaj. That was very, very beautiful. I'm still in the moon lake, I think. The Rasa dance in spring. What is that called?
What is it for?
No, called. As opposed,
what's it called?
Yeah.
It's called the spring Rasa dance.
The Sanskrit name.
Vasant.
Oh, Vasant. Okay.
Spring is Vasant. So Sharad Purnima is Sharad Ras and Vasant Ras.
Thank you.
Don't ask me anything else because I don't know.
And yeah, I just, there was a bit of the pastime with Vallabhacharya which I didn't quite understand, which is where, so he goes to Puri and his Gopals ask him to bring sandalwood and camphor back, quite a load of it. And then he goes to...
Wait. Who are we talking about? Vallabhacharya?
Yeah.
No, Madhavendra Puri.
Madhavendra. Yeah. Hang on, I've got myself confused here. Just bear with me. Oh yeah, no, it was the bit where I didn't quite understand how the worship of Gopa was taken over by Vallabhacharya.
I also don't know, but I'm conjecturing. This is my rank speculation.
Yeah.
Because Sri Madhavendra Puripad, he did not go back to Govardhana. As long as he was there, the worship went on a very, very regular and very opulent way. For example, they were having Ankut practically every day, and the Abhishek ceremony, and everything went on. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it said everything went on completely naturally, and nobody could see how it was happening. So when Madhavendra Puripad was there, the worship of Shri Gopalji was very, very, very opulent, very beautiful. But just like, for example, Govindaji, why did Govinda go to Jaipur? Because he was afraid of Muslims? No, it's because the devotion of the Brajbasi or the Vrindavan Basis had declined. So he went to Jaipur, and there in Jaipur to this day is very intense devotion there. And also Natadwar, very intense devotion towards Srinathji there. So I'm saying my conjecture is that because Srila Madhavendra Puripad, this great Mahabhagavat, source of the sprout of Braj mood in our line, because he was not physically present there, then the worship declined, and then Vallabhacharya and Vittalacharya, they took over the worship.
Thank you. And
I think maybe Tridani Maharaj has better information than that. He's poking as though he wants to unmute.
Oh. No, just a quick comment about his Madhavendra Puripad remaining in Ramuna. He performs that seva, but then he returns to Govardhana for some time, and then at the end of his life, he comes back to Ramuna, and that's where he leaves his body. So both are reconciled that way.
Clarification.
Yeah.
So Maharaj, the son of Vallabhacharya is Vittalacharya, is that right?
Vittalacharya, yeah.
And that beautiful verse that you were quoting about, the beautiful blackish Krishna being the...
Sri Radha Prarthana.
Sorry?
Sri Radha Prarthana. It's in our songbooks.
Sri Radha Prarthana. And last, how is it that if they're in the mood, if they're more of a Tsalya mood, how come he's evoking such an intimate topmost mood?
Well, the connection is there with Gadadhar Pandit. Because according to Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami has told us that Vallabhacharya received Diksha from Gadadhar Pandit. So, I mean, I can give a parallel. The descendants of Srimadvacharya, they mostly worship in awe and reverence. But it's said that the 8 principal sannyasis, they worship in the mood of the 8 principal gopis. But I mean, certainly the general, I've seen, maybe even at the manor, I've seen like huge groups of Vittalacharya's followers, and they got this, you know, they're carrying Gopal Ladu. They worship Gopal Ladu, Ladu Gopal.
So could it be that they're okay? All right. And can you just, last question? Can you just spell the name of the last personality who was blind? Can you spell
the what? Sorry.
The last personality.
Suryadas.
Sorry?
Suryadas, yes.
Suradas, Suradasa.
Thank you, Marsh. Thank you. Thank you so much. Haribol.
I have one further question that someone submitted. I think you kind of answered it, but it goes, is the line of Vallabhacharya considered to be a sampradaya in itself or contained within one of the 4 sampradayas?
It must be contained within one of the 4 sampradayas, but I don't know which one.
Rudra Sampradaya, yes.
Okay, very nice.
So they're
because
also in a mood somewhat of spontaneous mood. Pushti Marg.
Yes.
I think Chudandi Maharaj has got some beautiful information on that.
No, I was just going to say the other sampradayas. You have the Lakshmi Sampradaya, the Sri Sampradaya, and then we have Ramanuja, and then we have the Madhva, and then we have the Kumar Sampradaya, Nimbaditya. So Bhattacharya, he sits between them in his Rudra Sampradaya. He's carrying on the Rudra Sampradaya. The Rudra Sampradaya is already there, but he gives it like a recharge, so to speak.
Thanks for that.
Thank you. Well,
Hare Krishna.
Haribol, thank you very much for your guitar, Maharaj. You should have said it was very nice, very sweet, nice to hear. Yeah, nice to be back. So now we will move on to Pujapad Chudandi Maharaj, who will be speaking on Sri Damodarastakam.
Jai. Om Meganat Mirandasya Gyanam Jala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jina Tasmaya Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tiradaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Prabhajantam Anapetyam Apetya Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tam Mayatayo Tarva Virinustam Sarvabhutam Munim Hridim Anatoshmi. Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Taranga Madhye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Bharatam Tato Mamanastikatyena Kapi. I first of all offer my prostrated Dandavat pranams to my most beloved Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishta Om Astotara Shishimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I offer the same again, prostrated Dandavat pranams to our most beloved Nityalila Pravishta Om Astotara Shishimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya. My Dandavat pranams and my Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord on this thread today, headed by the Tridandi Gan of Pujapad Nemi Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj. My Dandavat pranams, Vanshakapatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. So, thank you so much, Nemi Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj. Beautiful, very, very sweet Harikatha. We've just floated out to Govardhana, practically not feeling a bump, not feeling the slightest inconvenience on the journey, just a very smooth ride. And we've arrived, Manjulali, at the gate of our Giriraj Govardhana. So, yes, this is our wonderful temple. This temple was built in a very short space of time, probably over about 2.5 to 3 years maximum. My Gurudev just pulled all his energy to getting this erected. The reason why it's actually so big, and it is very big, was the purpose was to situate all the Parikrama devotees. Just like here in Navadvip, we have the very large Keshavji temple. So these temples were built with the express purpose of housing all the Parikrama parties. So today we've arrived here, but already the other Parikrama party is already housed here. So we're going to have to elbow some space to make room for our party. So amongst us all, so we'll all be very much packed up in this temple today. I can remember, and certainly Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj will remember, and many of you will remember, Nirahari, etc., Jiva Pavana, how we had, I think at maximum, 1,500 Western devotees were here, which is a lot of Western devotees, and we had probably 1,000 Bengali devotees also. So that's quite a big party. And the devotees would be, the Bengali devotees at least, would be all sleeping in the corridors and on the lawns, etc. And the Westerners, they were given very elaborate rooms. My Gurudev took trouble to make sure that they all had bathrooms, etc., and had the comforts of the Western world to attract us personally. Most of us on this thread were all from the West. So this is an example, an extension of Gurudev's hospitality by manifesting this temple expressly for us to have the facility to dive into the sweetness and speciality in a very comfortable way of Govardhana. Govardhana is like the center. So from here, we're going to be able to satellite out very easily to Kamyavan, Nandagan, Varshana, Suryakund, etc., all the other places around, and also Adibadri in the south, and all quite accessible. So this will be most
Maharaj.
Yes, got it. Yes, so we've come to this amazing temple, this remarkable temple, and we are feeling great gratitude for Srila Gurudev for manifesting this for our convenience and comfort, etc. So as we come into the temple today, Gurudev's Samadhi is on our right, a very beautiful Samadhi recently built, his Pushpa Samadhi. And then Srila Gurudev's rooms are very beautifully preserved in the western corner of one of the guest houses. But everything is kept very nicely because we're very fortunate with this temple today because it's in a very central location. And many yatris and groups, they hire the whole temple to perform their bandaras, their bandaris, their wedding ceremonies and so on. So they pay, sufficient funds to maintain this temple very nicely. So it's always maintained. Whereas in Keshavji, in contrast, it's much more secluded and it's more difficult actually to maintain the Keshavji temple, but in Govardhana, it's flourishing today. So it's very nice.
Which Keshavji temple, the one in Mathura or Navadvip?
No, sorry, the one in Navadvip.
Oh, okay.
The one here in Navadvip is not a centrally located place, so it's less funded. But now we're going to have prasadam, and then we're going to take a rest, and then we're going to come into our gorgeous temple with Radha Giridhari on the altar, Radha Vinod Vihari on the altar, and so beautiful. And Sachinandan Gaurahari, and of course Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj is very nicely installed there on the altar. It's a wonderful, wonderful temple, huge temple. We can quite easily accommodate 2,000 people in this temple, you'll remember. And it's very spacious, it's opulent, windows all around, it's just gorgeously built. It's very special. So we're going to be sitting here now, and we're going to begin an introduction to our Harikatha of the Damodarastakam. So traditionally, every single Kartik, we go through this Damodarastakam, this tremendous astakam that is manifested from the heart of Sachibrat Muni. So it's about the pastime, of course, of this Dambandal Lila, of the binding of Krishna, but it's simultaneously very much focusing on the rising bhavs in the heart of Sachibrat Muni. This is what is so attractive about this particular astakam. It's like, it's an eternal astakam. It was written, it was composed, it was presented in the Chakshush Manvantara. That's the previous Manvantara. This is when it originated. Sachibrat Muni was there, and he's described in the 8th canto. It's described about Sachibrat Muni in connection with Matsya avatar. And it's described that after Sachibrat Rishi left that body, he took the form of the son of Vivishwan, the sun god. And then he manifested today as our Manu. So this Manu presiding in the this 7th Manvantara is Sachibrat Muni originally. His name is Vaivashvatu Manu. This is the name of the Manu today, Vaivashvatu Manu. So he was, but first he went to the sun god, Surya Dev, and then he came as that Manu. So, but his devotion is so excellent. And this is what the sadhaks become so much nourished by. This is why my beloved Gurudev would recite with such relish every single Kartik Parikrama for about the first 20 days or so. He would go through this Damodarastakam as if he had never gone through it before. And we would be sitting in front of him, having heard it so many times before, but it was absolutely pristine and fresh. Every time he began to speak it, it was as if we'd never heard it before. The way he described the different facets of this astakam. So the principal current of this astakam is it's going to rise from the initial lines, Namam Ishwaram Satchit Ananda Rupam, which are full of Aishwarya Bhav, a mood of Aishwarya. And remarkably, just almost in an instant, in the second line, it's going to demonstrate the intimacy where Sachibrat Muni has his focus, the Sat Kundalam, these beautiful swinging earrings on the cheeks, are kissing the cheeks of Krishna. So we've gone straight from an Aishwarya mood to this mood of the most sweet Madhurya. But Sachibrat Muni, he's beginning his own personal desire, which is being expressed here, of Dasya Bhav. And then it's going to manifest deeper and deeper until the culmination in the 8th verse, when he's mentioning the name Radhika. And he just wants to take shelter of Sri Radhika. So what is so enthusing about the Astakam is we can take definite steps to come to this place from an Aishwarya state to a very intimate Madhurya state of appreciation. So walking through the different verses, we have like the first verse is establishing Ishwara. It's establishing who is that Ishwara. Today, I'm hoping just to do a short, a brief overview, and then I want to come back to the first verse, and I want to share with you to read through some of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj's initial presentation, which is quoting much from Sanatana Goswami's Tika. Sanatana Goswami, he has written a beautiful commentary on this Astakam, and Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj has done the same, and my Gurudev has extended that to give us the very beautiful commentary that we have today in this Damodarastakam book. So the first verse is establishing who is that Ishwara, what is Ishwara Tattva, and then it goes straight into describing the beauty, the speciality of the beauty of Krishna and the excellence of his Leelas. So this mood is, and then he's describing the Damodarastakam, the Damodar Leela in this first verse. The picture is being set for us to appreciate where is the heart of Sachibrat Muni. And then in the second verse, Iti Driksva Lilavya Ananda Kunde, he's sinking in a pool of Ananda, a pool of bliss, thinking about all the many, many different pastimes in Vrindavan, in Braj. So there's so many pastimes that are described in the second verse. In the second verse, we understand that when the sadhak is contemplating many pastimes during his, a single pastime during his meditation, one pastime, this is called mantra Mayi Upasana. Mantra Mayi Upasana. We're going to hear this expression a number of times. It's important to appreciate the meaning of this mantra Mayi Upasana. This is when a single lila is being focused on, as opposed to Swarasika Upasana, when many, many leelas are tumbling into the heart simultaneously. So that these two grades, we can say. Mantramayi is considered the initial stage, and Swarasiki is considered the higher stage, when so many pastimes are just coming and coming in the heart as the sadhak is performing his contemplation. It's not simply a single one, but Sachibrat Muni, he begins with the mantra Mayi Upasana, the single pastime that he's considering. He's talking in this second verse about Krishna rubbing his eyes. And there's a whole commentary on this, which we will unpack when we reach that second verse. These verses, the devotees should really try to capture them, because every single year we go through this same Astakam. So it's really beneficial for us to take this whole Astakam very, very seriously and to commit it to heart and to appreciate its steady unfolding and culmination in the 8th verse, to appreciate these waves, this current of increasing nectar as it goes through. So this is what we're going to follow and unpack in detail. I'm just giving a very brief overview. And then the third verse are many, many leelas. Again, my Gurudev, he describes, I think, this is the iti driksva lilabhya ananda kunte. The second verse was rudantam muhur netra yugam rijantam. This is the second verse when he's rubbing his eyes. So the third verse is many, many leelas, and Gurudev gives maybe 9 different leelas in this. Yes, there we have it. Through pastimes such as these, he drowns the residents of Gokul in pools of bliss. This is Ananda Kunde, thereby informing people who are aware of his Godhead that he can only be conquered by his devotees. Hundreds of times, I again offer loving obeisances to him. Thank you. So then in the 4th verse, we appreciate that Sachibrat Muni is rejecting the boon of moksha. He's not performing his brat to achieve moksha. He's not even performing his brat to achieve Navada Bhakti. He only wants Raganuga Bhakti. He doesn't even want Vaidhi Bhakti. So we can appreciate what a significant astakam this is, where it's taking us to, where it's walking us up to. It's walking through this staircase, which I think particularly for Western devotees with more logical minds, perhaps, than some of our brothers here in India, we are generally more logical. That's just the way that we are. And this is very helpful to be able to place each verse in its categorical place. So this not even wanting moksha, not wanting Vaikuntha, etc. And then he comes to the 5th verse, and previously he wanted to take darshan, he was saying, of Balagopal. But now he wants to take darshan of only the face of Balagopal that has been kissed by the gopi, it's saying. It doesn't say which gopi. So we can understand that this can be Radhika or this can be Mother Yashoda, depending on our own adhikar to appreciate this verse. But again, it's escalating because it's coming from just the body of Balagopal to singularly just the face, the beautiful face that has these curling locks of hair around it. And then Sachibrat Muni remarkably doesn't feel that he's making progress sufficiently. So then he begins to perform his Sankirtan, and then he's praising all the different names of the Lord. This Namo Deva Damodarananta Vishnu, Prasida Prabhu Dukha, Jalabdi Magnam. He's praising Krishna, all the different names of the Lord. This is his Sankirtan. O Damodar, O Ananta, O Vishnu, obeisances to you, be pleased with me. I am drowning in an ocean of miseries. Alas, I am most afflicted and do not know what to do. O Isha, shower me with your merciful glance and kindly lift me by becoming directly visible to my eyes. So he doesn't just want this prayer within his heart. He wants direct darshan here. So it's all intensifying dramatically when we come to this 6th verse. And then in the 7th verse, he's referring to Nalagriva and Nalakumara and Manigriva. He's referring to these 2 sons of Kubera who have taken birth as the trees in Braj. And he's asking Krishna in his meditation, well, if you gave them prem, then you must give me prem also. So he's beseeching the Lord in this way. He's invoking the Lord's mercy by mentioning these 2 and saying that actually, if you can give to them, why not me? Why not me? So this lamentation of why not me, this is just like we hear in the many songs of Narottam, or many of our acharyas. Why not me? Because the devotee is always hungry for an increased connection with the Lord. It's never sufficient. The nature of prema itself is it's always hungry for more. That's the dynamic of it. It cannot be fully satiated. We cannot say right now, that's the end, so to speak. I have enough like that. That's not its dynamic. It's always flowing and always increasing, which is the nature of this very astakam itself. It's a powerful increase of current all the way through. And then we come to the final verse, the 8th verse. It's describing the rope and the belly. And Sri Radha is being described and mentioned in this verse, the brilliant effulgence. So it's interesting to note that Sachibrat Muni, he's writing this in the Chakshush Manvantara. Krishna hasn't even appeared yet in this day of Lord Brahma. He appears in the 7th Manvantara. So how is he able to describe Sri Radhika? How is that possible? How does he know about Krishna and Radhika? How does he even know about this pastime? Because it's all happening within his heart. It's happening, it's being bestowed upon him in the core of his heart. In other words, he's not actually writing this astakam in one sense. It's just a manifestation coming from the mercy of the Lord. Just as we heard yesterday about Baladev Vidyabhushan writing his Govinda Bhasya under the auspices of Govinda Dev. So these personalities like Krishna's Kaviraj, he gives all credit to Madan Mohan for writing the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So simultaneously, this we understand is being manifested by the mercy of the Lord in the heart of Sachibrat Muni, because Sachibrat Muni is such a qualified personality. So now, with your permission and mercy, I would like to begin on page 6. If you have this Damodarastakam book, we can follow together, or I will just read and I will explain things as we go along. But I think this is the best way to get the full amounts out of this remarkable Shastra, is to read through here and simultaneously comment. And if anyone has, Tarunji, any particular questions as we're going through, we can explore different understandings of this. So I'm going to begin with Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj's Tika. This is called Digdarshani Tika Bhavanuvad. This is the translation of Sanatana Goswami's Tika. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he's commenting and writing his own Tika on the Tika of Sanatana Goswami.
Just a very quick question before you move on. Do you know which Manu in the Chakshusha, do you know which, so he appeared in the Chakshusha Manu, yeah? Do you know which Chatra Yuga?
The very end, Yashoda.
Right at the end, okay.
Yes, because the Matsya avatar manifested then because there was a partial inundation.
Oh, is it in the in-between stage? There's a small number of years in
yes. And at that point, there's an inundation. There's a total flood. And at that time, Matsya avatar manifests and holds the Vedas, etc., and holds all the creatures of the earth, just like the story of Noah's Ark, basically. Yeah. That's the pastime that Sachibrat Muni performs. And that's described in the 8th canto, Yashoda.
Thank you.
I'll tell you afterwards which chapter. So now, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he says, after offering obeisances to the Supreme Controller, Sri Damodar, accompanied by Sri Radha, this explanation of Sri Damodarastakam, known as Digdarshani, the insight that guides us towards the inner meaning, is herewith presented. So this is Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj's invocation at the beginning. Now, he makes such beautiful, sublime points, which is why I want to just hold to this commentary that we can hear together. So he's saying, with the intention of making his prayer, Sri Sachibrat Muni first offers his devoted obeisances to Bhagavan Sri Krishna with the word Namami, which invokes auspiciousness, Namami. He offers his obeisances by extolling Sri Krishna's supremacy through descriptions pertaining to the speciality of his tattva, his form, his pastimes, and his qualities. This is the correct way, as will be described by Srila Gurudev in his commentary, of offering any tika. Is first of all, we have to glorify the principal tattva of where this is manifesting from. So he's saying, thus, Sri Sachibrat Muni declares the unique supremacy manifested by Sri Krishna in Gokul to be the very essence and entirety of Godhead. So this in itself is revolutionary through the ages, that Gokul should be presented in such a prominent way. Because please understand that these pastimes of Braj that we are being given are extremely confidential. If you take all the devotees, for example, just in India, how many devotees in India actually understand something even about Madhurya Ras? How many devotees in the world understand something significant? Only by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can we actually enter these pastimes significantly. Can we appreciate? We just heard from our Bhaktivedanta Nami Maharaj so many esoteric pastimes about Krishna and the gopis. These are very rare to actually hear. And yet by some incredible fortune, we're able to hear them regularly. So Srila Bhakti-Vigraham Keshav Maharaj continues, it is vital to offer respects to one's worshipful deity before beginning any task. Also by this gesture, Sri Sachibrat Muni exhibits his special feeling of dasya bhakti, just like when we always offer a Mangalacharya. How can we say anything without invoking the mercy of our Guru Varga? Anything of value has to be acknowledged as manifesting from them if it's going to be of any wealth, if it's going to be of any use to us. So he exhibits his special feeling of dasya bhakti, devotion to the Lord in the mood of a servant. For this reason, he begins his prayer by offering obeisances to the Supreme Lord. So Namam Ishwaram Sat Chit Ananda Rupam. So now we're going to go into the explanation of Sat Chit Arupam. He's saying, to whom am I offering obeisances? To Ishwara, the Supreme Controller. He is now, he's going to qualify this. Srila Bhakti-Vigraham Keshav Maharaj will qualify for us, for our sake. How do we appreciate that Krishna is the Supreme Controller? Because he is Sarva Shaktiman. He's the possessor of all potency. Krishna is the possessor of all potency. He's Jagat Ekanath. He's the sole Lord of the entire world. Now, this is the tattva. This is all in the first line. And Nija Prabhu, my own dear master. So this is a progression. Initially, it's almost like practically an impersonal aspect. He's the possessor of all potency. It doesn't express any characteristics. And then he's the sole Lord of the entire world. So now it's increased a little bit because we have the personality is mentioned, the Lord. He's mentioned rather than just the energy. So from the energy to the Lord, you see, you're following the progression. And then Nija Prabhu, my dear own master. So now it's come into a very sweet place to appreciate. Who is this Lord? He is my dear master. I am offering my obeisances to that Ishwara. How kind of the acharyas to unpack it in this way, to open it out like this. In the first facet of Ishwara, the possessor of all potency, Sri Sachibrat Muni seeks the potency to offer prayers in glorification of Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord. Okay, he's expressing this now. The second facet, the sole Lord of the entire world, conveys that Ishwara is alone his topmost worshipable, praiseworthy Lord. So he's explaining this. Finally, in relation to the last facet of Ishwara, he is my own dear master. Sri Sachibrat Muni expresses his own special bhakti for his Lord. This is coming from the heart of Sachibrat Muni. It's his Astakam, which is manifesting from the speciality of Krishna within his heart, of Balagopal within his heart. Now, how is Ishwara manifest? Addressing this question, Sri Sachibrat Muni says, Ishwara is manifest as the beautiful form of concentrated, pure, eternal existence, full knowledge and unlimited bliss, Sat Chit Ananda Rupam. So Namam Ishwaram Sat Chit Ananda Rupa. Just by going through this one line, every day we're singing this prayer, how much more appreciation can we have just by touching these truths that have been given by Sanatan Goswami and Srila Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj. The mercy of the Acharyas is profound. If we just had the Astakam itself without these explanations, our appreciation would certainly be limited. So now that was the first line. Now we're coming to the second line, where Sachibrat Muni shows the exceptional supremacy of Sri Krishna by describing his unique beauty of his form. So Manjalali, Didi, you can just put that diagram for a moment onto the screen of the beauty, just to appreciate how is beauty. Oh, why is recording stopped? Okay, if you open this out, this is a very helpful diagram. Probably many of you have seen it before, but it's describing in Jaiva Dharma in the 13th chapter, describing how beauty is the angi. It's the principal focus. When we think of Krishna's 6 opulences, then beauty is the very first of those opulences. Beauty is the captivating aspect of the Lord. Everyone is attracted, everyone in existence is immediately attracted by beauty. Krishna's name, Krishna, the all-attractive one. That's what his name means, the all-attractive one. So beauty is the initial quality. And then these other 3 qualities, fame, strength, and opulence. Strength, fame, and opulence. These other 3, they're described as angas. They're described as limbs coming from the main trunk of beauty. So I'm explaining it like this because the next few pages of the commentary are going to be describing Krishna's beauty. So I think it's helpful to appreciate all of his qualities collectively, to appreciate where beauty is the principal quality. And then it's described further by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He describes that fame, it has an effulgence. If ever you meet a famous person walking down the street, who is a famous person anyway? I don't know. Here I think of Mr. Modi, but perhaps you think of somebody else there. But anyway, if he walks down the street, there's a certain aura that is going to be there, indicating that he's very well known, etc. So fame has an aura, it has a light, it has an effulgence. That effulgence actually is the Brahmajyoti of Krishna's own fame. And that contains these 2 qualities of knowledge and renunciation. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur has described that these 2 qualities are not direct personal qualities of themselves. It's described as they are attributes of qualities. You can get knowledge in a library. You don't have to have a personality to have knowledge. And renunciation is somewhat of a negative quality. Whereas fame, you have to have a personality. Strength, opulence, you have to have a personality. Beauty, you certainly have to have an object. But these 2, They don't have to have objects, and they're described as being attributes of the qualities of Krishna. And those two qualities, because of their somewhat impersonal nature, they compose and make up the impersonal Brahman, the Brahma Jyoti, the effulgence of Krishna. So this is just to see in context how special is the quality of beauty, which is where we're going to go right now. So you can see that diagram. Thank you. Thank you, Manjalali. So that was just to demonstrate the speciality of this particular quality of beauty. So Sachibrat Muni shows the exceptional supremacy of Sri Krishna, exceptional supremacy, by describing the unique beauty of his form. So this is the composition of the exceptional supremacy. He describes how his earrings are swinging, lasat kundalam, because he is running away from his mother, Sri Yashoda, out of fear, or else because it is his nature to always make transcendental childish mischief due to increasing restlessness. Makara-shaped earrings constantly swing near his cheeks and seem to be playing there. In this way, the sage describes the speciality of the extraordinary splendor of Sri Krishna's worshipful face. We understand that Sri Krishna is Lavanamrita. Lavanamrita means the origin of all beauty. He's the origin of beauty. So this is an insight just simply into these few lines in the first verse. So how much have the acharyas opened this contemplation out for us? This Lavanamrita, the origin of all beauty, is Krishna. Yet another meaning of Lasat Kundalam is those two Makara-shaped earrings have achieved the celebrated fortune of kissing Sri Krishna's cheeks and are therefore the most exalted of all his ornaments. Of course, in the spiritual world, everything has life. The ornaments, they have their own individuality. They have their own identity. In many places, it's described that the ankle bells, because the ankle bells are always left on the divine couple when they perform their most amorous amorous pastimes. Perhaps all the other ornaments and clothes, etc., have been taken off their bodies. But these ankle bells, they're very talkative, and they are seeing and witnessing everything. And there's a whole description of the conversation between the ankle bells. And sometimes Radharani, she has to silence the ankle bells because they talk too much, because they've been witness to too much confidentiality. So in this way, these ornaments are very much described by the acharyas in different places as being animate objects. They're not, what do you call, insentient? That's the right word. They're not without life. Right, Yashoda? Got the right word? Okay. Consequently, simply by mentioning Krishna's earrings, the special fortune of all other ornaments adorning his various limbs is implied. So again, we're resonating and sensing the absolute beauty of the Lord. For this reason, Sri Sachibrat Muni is indicating, I'm offering obeisances to that personality whose bodily luster beautifies his earrings. It's Krishna's luster that beautifies. In other words, Sri Krishna's limbs even beautify their own ornaments. For this reason, the gopis have said, there's a very beautiful verse from the 29th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the translation is, Dear Krishna, as a result of beholding your beautiful form, which has enhanced the fortune of the three worlds, even the bodies of the cows, birds, trees, deer, and others have erupted with horripilation. Is it at all surprising then if your beautiful form bewilders us? Are you hearing that background chanting? Is it disturbing anybody?
Yeah, we can hear it, but I don't think it's disturbing.
Okay.
It adds to the ambience of the Parikrama.
It's in Swananda Sukhada Kunj, which is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's home. That's actually where it's coming from. So just so you know. Because now we're starting later here. Now it's actually after 5 o'clock in the evening here. So they begin their kirtan at 5. So other days we didn't have this kirtan. So we're going to have the background kirtan for the rest of the time. So I hope it's not disturbing. Okay, so Madhubrat is appreciating the mridanga. Okay. It usually gets louder after a couple of hours when they get really charged up. They also sing this Astakam twice a day, which is very beautiful. It just floats through the wooded area here where I'm staying. So all the Vaishnavas of the world practically are singing this particular Astakam at this time. So this is exceptional. And I think we're very fortunate to be having the time to go through it in detail. I really want to share with you the details of this, because by going through it in detail, our impressions when we sing it will be much more profound and much more prayerful. And we will become so much more entranced by the pastime, which we're going to very soon begin to describe between Krishna being chased by his mother. So there's another beautiful verse that Uddhav describes. He's describing the beauty of Krishna. It's saying Sri Krishna's form is so captivating that even he is astonished when he sees himself. So now this reminds us of why Mahaprabhu has manifested. He's manifested to taste his own astonishing sweetness. What's that? Adbhuta Madhurima. Adbhuta means astonishing. Adbhuta Madhurima. Krishna's Adbhuta Madhurima, his astonishing sweet qualities. This is one of the reasons, his inner desires, why he appears as Mahaprabhu, because he wants to taste this exceptional sweetness. We know the story that Srila Krishna's Kaviraj describes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Krishna sees his reflection in one of those pillars in Nanda Bhavan, where we just went in Gokul, where it has 84 pillars. And in one of those pillars, Krishna is seeing his reflection and he becomes astonished. He thinks, this is the most beautiful person I've ever seen in my life. And then he wants to offer that person a sweet. And then to his amazement, that person is offering him a sweet back. Krishna's heart is just melted in complete attraction to this particular boy that he's seeing in the column. And then he wants to embrace that boy. And then he hears the chuckling behind him of the elder gopis, of his mother, because they're seeing that Krishna has become entranced by his own reflection. So it's saying here that Krishna's form is so captivating that even he is astonished when he sees himself. How wonderful. His beautiful form embodies the topmost limit of exceedingly good fortune and opulence. Indeed, ornaments usually beautify the person wearing them, but Sri Krishna's form is so beautiful that he actually increases the beauty of his ornaments. In other words, compared to all other divine forms in existence, the beauty of his form is supremely divine. So now that's the second line of the first verse that is being described. Now we're going to go to the third line. So the third line is going to describe about association in principle. Next, Sri Sachibrat Muni shows the extraordinary excellence of Sri Krishna by describing his special associates present with him in Gokul. He says, Gokula Vraja-manam. How splendid it is when Sri Krishna is in Gokul, Gokule, the home of the gopas, gopis, cows, calves, and others. In this place, which is particularly befitting, he manifests the exceptional supremacy, Vraja-manam, of his pastimes, which he has never manifested anywhere else in any of the pastimes performed by his previous incarnations in one day of Lord Brahma. We know one day of Lord Brahma, Krishna advents, but it's every day of Lord Brahma, Krishna advents, and every day of Lord Brahma, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes afterwards to tell us who was Krishna, describe us about Krishna, so we can access Krishna. How merciful and compassionate is Krishna. Another meaning is that the outstanding environment of Gokul is effulgent with the mood of natural love. So when Krishna is situated there, he is certainly most splendid. Vraja-mandala. This is also described in various places in Shastra. In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's described as follows. Sri Krishna, for whom perfect mystic yogis prepare a seat in their purified lotus-like hearts, appeared as the reservoir of all beauty, unequaled within the three worlds. He accepted the seat offered by the gopis and was worshipped by them. Then he sat in the midst. When he sat in the midst, he appeared even more splendorous. So this is the third line we've described now. Now we're coming to the fourth line, which is going to refer to the Leela, where Mother Yashoda is chasing Krishna, and Krishna is exhibiting real fear. And this is astonishing. We remember in the 8th chapter of the 1st canto how Queen Kunti, she's commenting that she becomes bewildered when she appreciates that Krishna is in real fear of his mother. How can that personality, who they've seen fearlessly annihilate millions of soldiers of Jarasandha, etc., be fearful of his mother? How is this conceivable? They can't conceive it. This goes back to our conversation we had a few days ago when we were in Bahulivan. What is the distinction between Aishwarya and Madhurya? We need to know this very solidly. This distinction is so important to really catch up and really appreciate. Everything hinges around our appreciation of this distinction between Aishwarya and Madhurya. And this Astakam is going to carry us through from the Aishwarya realm in the first line straight into the Madhurya, and then even higher than just Dasya Ras. This is where we're going here. So now I'm going to read from this fourth line. So this is the pastime. Now in the remainder of this line, beginning with Yashoda, as well as the whole next verse, Sri Sachibrat Muni affirms the unparalleled excellence of his wonderful Lord by describing his extraordinary pastimes. Due to its surrounding context, Yasodaya means from his mother, Sri Yashoda. The meaning of Bia is that Sri Krishna feared being punished for breaking the earthen pot of butter, as well as raiding its contents and making other types of mischief. A pot of butter had been hung from the ceiling, high above the ground for protection, but Krishna had climbed upon an overturned grinding mortar and was stealing butter from it. The meaning of Ulud Kalt is when he saw his mother coming with a stick in her hand, he immediately leapt from the grinding mortar. And Davamanam ran away very quickly. We know we will discuss when we discuss the pastime more in a focused way. Perhaps tomorrow. Tomorrow is Ekadashi, and tomorrow Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj, he will describe the glories of Ekadashi, and following that glorification, I will again begin this first verse from my Gurudev's explanation, which is extraordinary. If we have this first preface, we can say, by Srila Bhakti-Vikrama Keshav Maharaj, to see these four lines in the verse, how are they referencing things? Then my Gurudev will unpack it even further. So now Bhakti-Vikrama Keshav Maharaj, he goes into a description of the 9th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is describing the beautiful pastime of when Mother Yashoda, she binds Krishna. Krishna, we know we'll discuss that tomorrow, because my Gurudev, he unpacks this much more fully than Srila Bhakti-Vedanta Keshav, because he's discussed it so many times. Every single year, he goes through it again and again and again. So I'll just continue reading through here. So there's a couple of verses here describing the pastime aspect. As soon as Sri Krishna saw his mother with a stick in hand, he hastily jumped from the grinding mortar. We know that Krishna had his back to his mother, and he was feeding the monkeys and the birds. Because of his pastimes in Ram, he felt indebted to the birds and the monkeys, the crows. But the birds and the monkeys, the crows, they fled as soon as Mother Yashoda came creeping in behind Krishna. So then that immediately alerted Krishna, and he quickly looked over his shoulder, and then he saw his mother, to his horror, with a stick. And then he leapt from the grinding mortar and ran. So this is extraordinary. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Simultaneously, it's Brajendrananda. So we have to make this reconciliation between Aishwarya and Madhurya. We have to be able to focus sufficiently on Madhurya to get the sweetness and taste. Simultaneously, we have to hold the respect that must be there for the appreciation of the tattva. Do you remember the example that I gave the other day from Raghavatma and Chandrika about the salt? When the salt in a glass of water is very salty, and if you put a whole sack into the Ganga, you don't even know that it's there. It just becomes absorbed in the immensity of the Madhurya that's flowing there. So there is this great amount of Madhurya that is there. So seeing her son fleeing after being caught making mischief, Mother Yashoda ran after him. She ran much faster than he did and seized him from behind. By describing that she ran much faster than Sri Krishna with the words Atyanta Tato Drutya, Sri Sachibrat Muni alludes to the exceptional beauty of Mother Yashoda's breasts, hips, and full-figured body, and also indicates her special affection for her son. She had so much affection that she could catch him. She's not only going to bind him later on, which is remarkable, but she has to have that much affection just to catch him. Krishna did not want to be caught. We've described that he can invoke Yogamaya whenever he chooses to. So he didn't want to be caught. The use of the loving address of Gopya instead of Yashoda signifies that only those who are born in cowherd families have the great fortune of seeing these pastimes. Furthermore, by saying Paramrista, that she caught him from behind, Sri Sachibrat Muni indicates Sri Krishna's special affection for Mother Yashoda. In other words, he is declaring that Sri Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala. Bhakta Vatsal. He has particular affection for his devotees. This is a great, great meditation, the affection that Krishna has for his devotees that will allow him to be caught and will allow him to even be bound. So there are many examples in Shastra that we can discuss at different times where Krishna submits. We just, Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj was just describing about this Samartha Rati of the gopis. Samartha means to control. Samartha, they control Krishna. Whereas the queens, they have Samanjasa Rati. They can't control Krishna by their prem. Their prem doesn't control him. I gave a few days ago the example of Satyabhama, that when she was in Man, Krishna just ordered her to come to the gate, and she did. She was controlled immediately by Krishna, whereas the gopis, they control Krishna. So these are all wonderful meditations for us. He has particular affection for his daughter. Here also, it is beneficial to carefully study the following verse from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. There's another beautiful verse here. And then the translation is, as slender-waisted Yashoda chased Sri Krishna, her pace was slowed down to the weight of her large swaying hips. As she ran after him, her hair loosened, and the flowers that were woven into her braid fell to the ground, as if following behind her. Despite all of this, she continued to chase Krishna, And at last she caught hold of him from behind. So there's many aspects to this that we can unpack as we go through. But just today, to appreciate the overview that I gave initially of the 8 verses, and where are they heading, where are they going, what is the nature of the potent current that is coming through here, the escalation of increased greed in Sachibrat Muni's heart, to such a degree where he doesn't even want moksha, he doesn't want Vaikuntha Prem, he doesn't even want Vaidhi Bhakti, and then he doesn't even want to see just the form of Balagopal, but only singularly his face. Then finally, he wants to serve that Sri Radhika. So it's described at the very end that why did Sachibrat Muni stop? On the 8th verse, it's described that he stops out of ecstasy, or he stops out of confidentiality. So this increased mood of this Astakam is very wonderful and nourishing for us to meditate on and hold as very sacred every year during this month of Kartik, because the truths herein are just so splendorous. So I'll stop there, and tomorrow we can go into this first verse according to Srila Gurudev's description, which is really ecstatic. And I think this will give us all great nourishment for our chanting and our bhajan. Srila Gurudev said repeatedly that bhajan must be there. If there's no bhajan, then how can we share or offer anything of significance if we're not able to practice in our own lives? Just speaking is one aspect, but to actually practice is our necessity in life. Jai, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha. So that's right on 12 o'clock, Tarun. I think I'm up to British time. I moved my clock to British time. I'm now on British time. I've given up trying to figure it out with Indian time. I've capitulated. I've come to UK time.
Very well. That's funny. Yeah, it's especially confusing that it's like the half an hour.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's India for you. They have to do half an hour. Everyone else is on the hour.
Yeah, right.
We've got some nice, thank you very much for your guitar, Maharaj. It's really nice to hear about the Damodarastakam in more detail, and I'm looking forward to hearing about it more in the coming days. We have some nice questions for you, and I'm sure Yashoda does as well.
Let's go with the other questions first. Leave Yashoda waiting for me.
Okay. Well, Vidara Prabhu asked if you're going to elaborate on Damodarastakam in future classes, and I can answer that. The answer is yes. That is part of the schedule, is that the specific verses are going to be elaborated on. So that is the answer. And Jiva Parvan Prabhu is asking, can it be therefore said that the love of Mother Yashoda is also greater than the love of Krishna's wives and queens?
100%. 100 million %. The queens cannot control Krishna. The queens could never intimidate Krishna. The queens are carrying that Ishwara Bhav, which creates a separation in intimacy. I mean, we can understand that with our material minds. You know, if there's so much honor and awe and reverence, that means there's some feeling of ourselves being somewhat inferior. If you honor someone so greatly, it means that you feel that you are less than that person. But the gopis don't feel like that. They've played with Krishna Mother Yashoda, she doesn't feel like that for a second. So that's the answer. Very clear, I think. Anything else, Tarunji?
Yes, I imagine Yashoda has some questions.
Hang on, I just got to put your voice up a bit. Hang on. There was, I'm a bit unsure whether to ask this question. In the Ashtakam, Raj, I couldn't reconcile the line numbers you were giving to the line numbers on the Ashtakam.
Bhakti-Vedanta Keshav Maharaj gives the line numbers. But just for clarity's sake, if you have the book there on page 6, where it's got the 3 dots in the middle of the page, underneath there begins the first line. Okay? And then on page 7, again, underneath the 3 dots, begins the second line.
Oh, I see. Okay, because in the Ashtakam, okay, so it's basically 2 lines per line. We have it in the book. Okay.
Yeah,
in the book, Namitrara Sachidanda and under Rupam is 1 line, not 2. Okay.
Yeah. So the explanation in the Damodarastakam book, there's 3 dots in the middle of the page, and underneath each dot, it starts.
So it's basically taking the Ashtakam we have in our songbook and splitting each line into 2.
4. Yes. Well, yes, breaking them into a description, but there's 4 explanations.
Yeah.
In the Damodarastakam book, there's 4 explanations.
Thanks.
I think it's remarkable that he concludes with Radhika, when Radhika and Vrindavan were not even on the map, so to speak, in the Chakshush Manvantara. You know, I think this in itself is remarkable. How can, you know, that he has this revelation in the heart of Balagopal to such an intense degree. What time have you scheduled the kirtan for, Tarunji?
I think she should be on the call, but don't get what were you going to expand on what you were going to say?
No. She was just saying something.
Mamata Didi isn't singing.
Okay.
One.
Okay. So I think this is quite interesting to appreciate that in the Chakshush Manvantara, as we know, I mean, Sachibrat Muni was honoring Matsya avatar, one of the Vaikuntha avatars. And yet in his heart, he had Balagopal manifesting even beyond that to Sri Radhika. So this is, again, inconceivable. So I find it interesting to appreciate the historic context in a sense of Sachibrat Muni being in that previous Manvantara. And it's not like he was just a few thousand years ago and had the fortune that we've had to, have the Srimad Bhagavatam descriptions, etc., etc. So just a consideration. He's saying, did Sachibrat Muni discover what? I couldn't see all of the message. Just have a look.
Did anyone discover what his Siddha Swarup was?
No, I haven't heard.
Okay.
I didn't hear Gurudev describe that. But when we have questions like this, and if we don't come up with the conclusion amongst ourselves, hopefully we'll ask other more knowledgeable souls. And perhaps the idea of us going through this Damodarastakam is that collectively we can come to newer stages of appreciation and consciousness. And if there's questions that we can't answer, that's wonderful. because then we have to make inquiries. I just share with you one appreciation that every single year I go through this Damodarastakam for a number of years now since Gurudev left this world. And every single year I feel at the end of the Kartik Parikrama that I hadn't even read this Damodarastakam before. It's just like a whole newer conception had overlaid what I'd appreciated previously. So that's the way I'm actually coming into it with you this year. It's certainly not that I know, everything at all. Not, just maybe just something of the skeleton, something of the waves. I'm beginning to be able to see the waves, but actually the depth of the waves and the profundity of the waves, that's to be tasted and explored each time we approach this Astakam. We are so lucky that our Gurudevs have given us this wonderful, wonderful book for a start, this book Manifesting, and to have heard from the lips of Srila Gurudev in particular so many times. I'm sure our Nemi Maharaj will appreciate also having heard so many times these descriptions by Srila. And sometimes Gurudev would just start weeping. So it's an eternal Shastra. It's something that will, it's alive. It's not just some traditional Astakam. It's something that is completely up to speed with the present moment. So this year, 2021, with Gurudev's mercy, I'm sure many lights will go on for us individually. And hopefully, Tarunji, we can share as we go along. If people are discovering different aspects or have different questions, etc., like that, let's not leave a single stone unturned between us. And that way we'll really discover some sacred depths further than what we might have appreciated previously. Okay.
Very Paul. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Really appreciate all of this guitar and hearing about, especially Damodarastakam. Really excited to learn more and have a deeper understanding of the meaning of this prayer, because it's so naturally attractive, but you can see in the words that there's so much depth. So it's a wonderful opportunity to go more in depth into the deeper meanings. And on that subject, people were asking, are we going to continue? You answered that yes. So to answer a further question that people might have, when are we going to continue? We should be hearing tomorrow, firstly, a glorification of Ekadashi from Pujapad Nemi Maharaj, and then we'll return with Pujapad Trinandi Maharaj to address the first verse, Damodarastakam, that will be tomorrow. So that will be the next time that we are hearing about Damodarastakam. If you want to see the schedule gets put up on the WhatsApp. So there's a link for the schedule, and it's a Google Doc, not a doc, a Google spreadsheet, sorry, with every single day what's happening. So you can see the specific days that we're going to discuss Damodarastakam. Yes, Maharaj.
It's not exactly the same schedule that the big Parikrama are following here in Vrindavan. One of the devotees got confused today. They were sending me pictures about Kamyavan, thinking that we were going there because the big Parikrama is gone there. So it's very good actually, because we've got our own Parikrama and we won't get crowded out by the other Parikrama. So we're actually lucky. But it is a different schedule to the main Parikrama.
Very nice. Thank you, Maharaj. yes, avoid that confusion. And tonight we will be revisiting these places at 6 p.m. UK time with Shriman Madhuvrat Prabhu and Shripad Abadu Maharaj. So a really good opportunity to hear more about Damodarastakam and to hear more about the places that we visited. So Hari Bol. And
that's Madhuvrat from Brighton.
I presume so. I think so.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So yeah, really valuable opportunity.
Great.
So I would just like to thank you, Maharaj. I'd like to thank Pujapad Nemi Maharaj for another day of wonderful kirtan. It's really beautiful to wake up and be able to come on the Zoom and hear from you guys. Really inspiring. And I'm starting to feel that I was just reflecting yesterday. I was just with my friend and I was like, I haven't had this much Braj Katar for so long. I'm just hearing so much. And it's just kind of, I was just reflecting back on it. And I'm just thinking about Vrindavan so much more now. So I'm feeling very grateful in that way. So there's definitely a lot of success in what, for me, I feel very successful in some regard in hearing so much and therefore having some absorption in comparison to my regular base level. So thank you so much, Maharaj. I'm really appreciating this. And now we're very fortunate to have a very nice kirtan singer, Srimati Nalini Didi, who's part of our very own London Sangha. A very nice disciple of Srila Gurudev. I'm sure you all have heard her sing before. She sung some of the evening programs already, but this is her first time singing one of the morning programs for this month, I think. So very fortunate to have her. She said to me earlier that she was going to sing Ramani Shiromani, but she then said afterwards that she might change what she sings spontaneously off the cuff. So I don't know what she's actually going to sing. So I guess when she comes on, she will tell us. You should be able to unmute yourself, Didi.
Everyone, Maharaj. Yeah, I was going to sing Ramani Shramani, but then according to Maharaj's Kata, he was describing the beauty of Krishna. And I thought, okay, I will sing then page 126, Janama Safalata. Yeah, by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. 126, Janama Safalata. Janama Safalata Krishna Darashana Jan Janama Safalata Krishna Darashana Jan Bhage hoya che kabar Bhage hoya che kabar Vikashiya rinanayan Kori Krishna darashan Vikashiya rinanayan Kori Krishna darshan Jhare jit chite ravi kara Bhage hoya che kabar Vrindavana ke liye Rupa Vamshidhari Aparupa Tribhanga Bhangi Marupa Vamshidhari Aparupa Rasamai Nidhi Guna Shali Rasamai Nidhi Guna Shali Rasamai Nidhi Guna Shali Varnana Vajaladhara Shirashiki Pichavara Varna Vajaladhara Shirashiki Pichavara Alaka Tilaka Shobhapai Alaka Tilaka Shobhapai Paridhan Pitevas Madan Madhurahai Paridhan Pitevas Madan Madhurahai Heno Rupa Jagatamatai Heno Rupa Jagatamatai Indrani Lajini Krishna Rupa Khani Kheriya Kadamba Mule Indrani Lajini Krishna Rupa Khani Kheriya Kadamba Mule Mane Uchata Nachale Charan Samsara Ghelama Bhule Sakhi He Sudhaman Se Rupa Madhuri Sudhaman Se Rupa Madhuri Dekhile Nayan Hoya Chetan Jare Prema Maya Bari Dekhile Nayan Hoya Chetan Jare Prema Maya Bari Kiba Churashi Re Kiba Vamshi Kare Kiba Churashi Re Kiba Vamshi Kare Kiba Se Tribhanga Thama Kiba Se Tribhanga Thama Charana Kamale Amiyaru Chale Charana Kamale Amiyaru Chale Tahate Nupura Dam Tahate Nupura Dam Sadaya Shakori Vingarupa Dhori Charana Kamale Stan Sadaya Shakori Vingarupa Dhori Charana Kamale Stan Anaya Sepai Krishna Guna Gai Arna Bhaji Boana Prabhu Arna Bhaji Boana Arna Bhaji Boana Sadaya Shakuri Vindarupa Dori Charana Kamale Stan Anaya Sepai Krishna Guna Gaya Rana Bhaji Bholan Prabhu Arana Bhaji Bholana Krishna He Krishna Hare 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 Jaya Vrindavana Dham Jaya Vrindavana Dham Vrindavana Dham Jaya Vrindavana Dham Jaya Vrindavana Dham Jaya Vrindavana Dham Vrindavana Dham Jaya Vrindavana Dham Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Thakur Bhakti Vinod Thakur Bhakti Vinod Bhakti Vinod Thakur Bhakti Vinod Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Thank you.
So beautiful. Where are you from?
Originally, or well, I
from Bengali.
No, Gujarati.
Gujarati. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. So beautiful. So beautiful, Paitha. Incredible. Incredible. Heart melting. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the Katha, Maharaj. Yeah, it's like, it was like you said before, like you were seeing, you were realizing new things from Damodarastakam, but every time we hear this Katha, it's like ever fresh, and we know that Radharani is the topmost. She's the most beautiful, but sometimes I'm thinking, we forget. Well, I forget Krishna's beauty, thinking, Radha is the topmost, but actually hearing about Krishna's beauty will please Srimati Radhika like this.
So much. Yes. Very nice. Very nice. Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Wonderful.
It was a very sweet kirtan. Thank you very much, Nalini.
Thank you.
Are you coming on Friday, by the way? I think there's a program. Is there a program in Walthamstow maybe for Govardhana Puja?
I might be. I will have to check. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing, but I'll be in touch.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I just sorry, just spontaneously thought to ask, because it would be nice to hear you sing kirtan in person again, because it's been a while. It's really nice when all the devotees come together.
Yeah, I'm sure we will soon.
There's so many wonderful kirtan singers in London. So,
did you sing many times for Gurudev?
I sang in 2008 in the European Vaishnava Festival in Italy, and then in Govardhana. Yeah. So twice.
Beautiful. Yes, you're blessed. It sounded like that. It sounded like Srila Gurudev, yes, would really like your kirtans. I was imagining Gurudev listening with great attention. Very nice. Very sweet. Wonderful.
Thank you.
So that is all we have time for. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. I hope to see you all soon. It's been a beautiful program. I'm looking forward to our first Ekadashi of Kartik tomorrow, and to spend some of that time with you. Hari Bol. Vancha kalpa trubhyascha kripa sindhu bhayevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Just want to say we're having a festival in Birmingham for Govardhana. So if anyone's near to Birmingham at the Clarence Road Temple, just come on along, having Govardhana Shila huge feast, etc. Hare Krishna.
What day is that? What day is that?
Govardhana is the 5th, isn't it?
5th. Okay.
The 5th of November. Hare Krishna.
We're competing with Bonfire Night this year, Maharaj.
Ah, yeah. November the 5th, yeah. How will I get to it though? How will I get to Jiva Pavana's program?
Speed of mind.